today we talk about the chakras, which are a main subject in Tantra Yoga. And Tantra Yoga is the main branch of yoga, which is mostly looking at the energy aspect of yoga. The Supreme and the entire universe actually are made out of consciousness and energy. And while the consciousness is never changing, always staying the same, the energy is ever changing, and in that way never changes because it's always changing. So in a way all yoga is Tantra Yoga, because consciousness, you can't change it. So what can you do? All yoga actually works with the energy. But still one can say that Tantra Yoga is very focused on working with the energy, while many other types of yoga are focused on dropping the energy and focusing only on consciousness, not in trying to change it, but in trying to drop everything else, to stop thinking, to stop moving, to stop breathing, to stop anything until only consciousness remains. That is a main branch of yoga. Tantra Yoga, we more try first to harmonize the energy so that it becomes more easy to drop it. In that way, Tantra Yoga, in the end, also has the same objective, harmonizing the energy until one can drop it and only consciousness remains. But so it's a little bit a different approach. And Tantra definitely works very much with the subconscious mind. I have explained already many times, we think that we are in charge of ourselves. We think that we are thinking what we want to think, but the truth is that most of the things that we do or think, they come out of our subconscious mind, and we have very little impact on it, very little control of it. So in our subconscious mind, there are many frustrations, fears, good memories also, intuitions, real deep thoughts, all kinds of stuff. But if you want to harmonize the energy, you want to harmonize our thoughts and our feelings, then definitely the subconscious, we have to work with it. And since we cannot consciously control it, we need a kind of magic to work with it. The subconscious, nobody knows what is there. So how could you make a science, a logical science of how to work with it? You can't, because you don't know what is there. And it's very different also for everybody. So you need some kind of other science, Tantra, magic. And there are many aspects of it. Like we have been talking about numerology before, there's actually also a tantric aspect of it. We can talk about rituals, we can talk about the use of mantra, and we can talk about chakras. So this is where the subject of chakras really lies. And chakras are like very popular, a very popular subject. And it speaks to the imagination, these energy centers that we have in our body, and all kinds of experiences that we can have with that. It's quite interesting. It speaks to the imagination, and as a matter of fact, that also makes it a little bit confusing, because, once you start working with this field, you start meditating and working with these energies, then you can have all sorts of experiences, hot energy going through your spine, cold energy going through your spine, different kinds of colors which appear in front of you, inside in meditation, all these kinds of things. So, and then people start talking about it and writing about it, and so you get many, many different books on chakras and many, many different kinds of experiences. So that makes it rather confusing. And so today I want to a little bit stick to the traditional view on chakras as it comes from the Vedas, try to make it a little bit more clear what the subject really is. And especially I want to focus on that which immediately can be used by anybody hearing this class, which is the relationship between chakras, desires, and the evolution of consciousness. Because that is the main thing, first of all, to understand. And that is first of all what chakras are about. So this is the first thing. And then we will look also into the, I would say, more technical aspects of it, how to work with the energy in Kundalini Yoga, as it is then called. That we will also look at. So, chakra means, in Sanskrit, a revolving wheel, a circular motion. And so these centers, energy centers, indeed have energy moving in a certain direction, like a little wheel. And my teacher Harish Johari wrote a rather famous book about it, where he calls chakras energy centers of transformation. And with that he has actually a double intention. First of all, yes, these are centers through which you can transform yourself, through which you can make yourself change. But also, by their very essential function in our system, they are centers where energy is changed, where energy which is maybe more physical, more gross, is transformed into energy which is more subtle, more mental, and more spiritual. So, in that way, one can say that the chakras are on the interface between the subtle bodies, meaning mind and the subconscious mind, and the physical body. And these energy centers are created because of the relationship, the interaction between the life force, the prana, that we inhale through our breathing, and the elements out of which our body is made. We have first chakra is earth related, second chakra water related, third chakra fire related, fourth chakra air related, fifth chakra related to akash or the space element, sixth chakra related to maha tattva, which is an element which has all the elements in it in seed form, and seventh chakra which is completely beyond the element. So this is basically the setup of the chakras, and maybe I can distribute these papers so that you can have a better idea of that. And you could say that it is the tickling of prana, of the elements, which creates our prime desires. And that is of course something interesting to know. Our desires, nothing wrong, but not always easy. And to know that actually these desires are often created as a simple interaction between your life force and your physical body is quite interesting, because that offers you many ways to control them. The desire related to the earth element is the desire for security, and that is the main desire of the first chakra. The earth element is our physical body. The essential fear of our ego is that this physical body will die. So security is what the first chakra is all about, because it is worrying about the earth element. Then the second chakra is water dominated. This creates the desire for pleasure. As I have explained already in, for example, the class on the rasas, the emotional essences, it is in the water of our body that we get our feelings, our emotions, our pleasure and our pain. So in second chakra we go after that pleasure, which is related to the water element in our body. Then there is the fire element. The fire element creates light. The fire element makes us see around us. And from that it creates the desire for a certain status within our environment. We want to be somebody. That is the third chakra desire. This is directly related to the fire. We want to be seen, and we are aware that others see us, and we may worry about what they are seeing. So this is the relationship. Then the air element of the fourth chakra expands our vision further. Air is something which is everywhere on our planet. While fire only allows us to see as far as we can see, air brings us in contact with the whole world. The air that we breathe here is the same air that people in China are breathing. So the element of air brings the desire to be part of a group. So it is the desire of love which is created from the air element. And then, as our awareness even further expands into space, the most subtle of all elements, then comes the desire for understanding, and especially the understanding that goes beyond the elements. That is the understanding that we want in fifth chakra. We want to go beyond that subtlest of subtle elements. We want to go beyond the space. We want to understand what is the reality behind the appearance of the universe. And then once we understand a little bit about this reality, then we want to truly realize it. We want to truly become in tune with it. We want to change ourselves. We want to be liberated from our own limited idea of ourselves. So then comes the sixth chakra desire. That is the desire for liberation, for yoga and meditation and all that. Until that at last brings us to the dissolution of our own individuality and the disappearance of the idea that there is a problem and that we need to have some desire to solve this problem. So in that way, the desires are related to the elements. And these principal desires are, personally, I believe, really a fantastic way to understand yourself and also the people around you. And the order in which they are put here is extremely logical. First, man is living and he needs to survive. This is always our first occupation. If surviving is really difficult, then that will be our only desire. All else we will ignore. But then, once we reach a level where our survival is not so much a question anymore, when we have done all that hard work to have a job and a house and all these things, then after the days of work, we want some fun. We want to enjoy it. So naturally, we go to the second chakra, desire of enjoyment. And then we can enjoy this and that and such and so on. But after a while, this becomes a little bit boring. All this just enjoyment. We want something a little bit more tangible. And we also see that the pleasures are not always evenly distributed around us. And maybe we feel a little bit that we are disrespected in that way, that some other people are getting more sweets, let's say, than we are. So then comes naturally the desire for status in our environment. We want to be respected, we want to be somebody, and actually here also the ego develops a desire for immortality. We want to be remembered even after we die. That is a typical third chakra desire. We want to really mean something. But okay, once we've been a little bit on the top somewhere, the boss of some department or I don't know, in some way or other have achieved that desire, have satisfied that desire. then we start understanding that it is also not so very satisfying. Because people may respect you, even a little bit like be in awe of you or fear you or look up to you, but that does not mean that they love you. Actually, very often that will not be the case. No? They will maybe more want your position, even though they are friendly to you because of the power that you have achieved. They will be, sneak around your back. So then comes the desire for love, to be really part of a group. At that moment, the ego is trying to solve its basic problem a little bit outside of itself, a little bit understanding the connection that there is, and enjoying the pleasure of togetherness, which is a much more rewarding pleasure than the pleasure of being important, or the pleasure of having chocolate ice cream, or the pleasure of having a big bank account. So then, okay, we start moving like that, we start really belonging to a group, identifying with a group, working for a group, serving a group. That can be just a family, or it can be a little bit a larger group, or we can start taking care of the environment, or of elderly people, or poor people, or handicapped people, or whatever. No? Out of this feeling of togetherness. But that is not always easy. Once you start loving other people, then you also start feeling a little bad when they are feeling bad. And then you start wondering, why are all these problems there? Why can't we just have a good time? So you are starting to thirst for more understanding, for more knowledge. So then logically, because of your engagement, you are starting to search for knowledge. You are starting to wonder, what is this? Why is it like that? Can't we change it? So then fifth chakra desire automatically comes. And you start looking for knowledge, and you read many books, and you come to lectures, and you start understanding. And you start especially understanding that there is not really much to understand. That, the knowledge is beyond the words. That it is about being rather than about knowing in the sense of, words, concepts. We can write books full of them, but they don't really help us so much. We forget them so easily. That's the first problem with concepts. You can have a really good concept about how to live, but half an hour later you've forgotten. So you want to become that. You want to be that. And so then comes the desire, naturally, for stopping mind, stopping thought, stopping conceptualization, and just natural being and going inside and discovering the true self of the sixth chakra. So in that way, this whole evolution is very natural. There's nothing forced about it. It is very clear from that understanding that everybody on this planet one day will start with yoga. It's just a natural exhaustion of desires that occurs, and so people slowly come to the point, that's a great idea. No? And meanwhile, they also have lots of fun in these other desires, in these other chakras, in these other types of energies. Nothing wrong. And then interesting also is to see this column there, which says the age that is associated with each chakra. Now these ages that are put there are put for, let's say, normal people as the Vedas look at people. So in a way they are a little bit super normal or superhuman because, this is quite a fast evolution that is described here. And most people don't get that far. What is quite natural for a child of 1 to 7 years old to be mostly involved with the idea of security. They want to be with their mother and father. They prefer to be at home in an environment that they know, and they very carefully, can move out of that, but only if they feel really comfortable and secure. So in first chakra, the first chakra desire really is mostly present there. And then after 7, then comes more also the desire for enjoyment. Then the child will start developing certain tastes, start liking this, not liking that. It will be, a different thing. It will be the start then, of enjoying the senses more. And then around age 14, the really stronger development of the ego comes in. Of course, the ego is already there in first chakra. No? There it is worried about the security of the body. No? It is there in second chakra when it wants to soothe its hurts by a little chocolate or some nice music or whatever. So, and in the third chakra, it really starts to think that the solution is in the ego itself. So that is why the third chakra is so related to the ego. So that is really in puberty, when young people start developing a personality, start really paying importance to what other people think of them, to how they look and how other people appear to them, and whether they are cool or not, and all these things. And that normally lasts till about age 21 or something around that, where, naturally speaking, the heart chakras should start operating a little more. And they should really start associating more with the group and really find more pleasure in this togetherness of the fourth chakra. But obviously, quite a few people even don't get that far. Many people live in their first three chakras predominantly, and will be motivated mostly from there. Some people will actually be mostly motivated from first chakra on. Only be interested in survival. Nothing else much is of interest to them. Some will mostly stay in second chakra. Some will mostly stay in third chakra. Some will move up into this fourth chakra awareness. And then around age 28 here, if I'm right, my glasses, I don't know all these things by heart. 28, 29, then fifth chakra development should start. The thirst for knowledge really strongly develop. And then about 7 years later, that story also is a little bit exhausted, and we start wanting to meditate and go inside and find a different solution. That is what the Vedas call the natural evolution. But as I say, many people don't get that far. Many people get stuck somewhere. And it's also quite natural in the sense, if you think about reincarnation, usually you will move in this life relatively fast up to the chakra where you stopped in last life. But there then you will have more time. You will need more time to exhaust that desire, to really enjoy that particular energy of that chakra until you become a little bit bored with it, and then you are ready to move to the next. So this is how it happens. And what I was now explaining as something as an evolution of a lifetime, as a matter of fact, also is something which happens on a very short period of time. Meaning that the energy quite naturally moves through the 7 chakras in the span of 1 hour to 1.5 hours. Quite naturally, there is a movement there, going up and down and up and down in a period of about 1 hour to 1.5 hours. And that can certainly influence you without you being aware of it.